everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you so much everybody for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much everybody who's listening right now in the podcast. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. I needed to come and talk to you guys about this new program that is happening in Turkey. Okay, and we need to pay attention because when things like this are beginning to be developed in a country, usually it's a trial and they see how it goes and then they roll it out to all the countries. Okay, and this program is about people who are overweight or obese who are being tracked down in their normal routine. Whether they go to the park or something, they get stopped and they have to be weighed and right there in public in front of everybody. So before I continue, this is very controversial. I'm laughing because I don't know what world is getting ready to take over. But we know that with God, everything, all of this stuff is meant to happen. This is just one part of it, right? There's so many crazy other things happening, and God is in control no matter what. Before I continue, I want to say thank you to everybody who's listening using Spotify. Do not forget to follow me on Spotify. That way, every time I do a new episode, you get a notification. And thank you so much, everybody who's listening using Apple Podcasts. I love seeing followers on the Apple Podcasts. When I first started Apple Podcasts, I would get like one listener. And it will be like, an episode that is popular in different platforms. And when it comes to Apple Podcasts, it took a while to get that going. So I love seeing that you guys are following me now on Apple Podcasts. Please continue to do so. Excuse me. And of course, thank you to everybody who's watching this video right now on YouTube. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Okay. Let me tell you something that, obviously there's a feeling in the air. There's something big that's being ready to be taking place. You cannot help it, but with all these changes in the new administration that's happening in the US right now, but there are things that are happening also overseas. And the whole thing with the AI too, you need to remember AI is good into a certain point. And I mean that we need to keep in mind that God created the earth for us to enjoy, the humans. But when they're rolling out this AI thing where they want to basically, it's about productivity. A robot will do it much faster. A robot will produce so much compared to a human. And then the layoff begins, right? The layoff begins and people are having a hard time getting a job, right? And it's just crazy. And that can lead to a lot of depression. That can lead to a lot of people taking matters into their own hands when it comes to their life, if you guys know what I'm referring to. And that's the point that a lot of these companies are missing. And we need to pay attention. Everybody wants to feel welcome. Everybody wants to feel needed. And like I said, AI is going to a certain point. And now, on top of that, because the world is not just going crazy, we need to add something additional to it. Let me tell you about this new program in Turkey that's taking place already. And it's a rollout by the health department in Turkey. And you guys know here in the US that we have a new health department director who's making a lot of changes. I just today, May 22nd, 2025, I learned that food stamps are being cut down, right? Like grocery prices, they're a little lower, but they're still not in that level like it was, let's just say, in like 2019, like late 2019 or something. They're still a little high, but now the food stamps the budget is being cut down. The Medicare budget is being cut down. It's like it makes you wonder what is really going on. Really, it's like, is everybody who is in leadership not for humans anymore? Like, what is going on? In this program, when I read it, I started laughing because I couldn't believe it. But it's actually true. Overweight people are publicly being weighed in order to slim down under new rule in Turkey, with inspectors patrolling public spaces. Imagine that. Okay, imagine just enjoying your time, or just going for a walk, or going to work, or just living your life, and you get stopped by the public health department. I mean, because they want to say, we need to weigh you to know how much you weigh, and they're going to give you ideas on how to lose weight and things like that. I'm sure they have a big registry for it too. Imagine that. Not only is that going to bring shame to people, like I said, the people forget that sometimes when it comes to things that are visible, people forget that people have feelings, right? And nobody wants to be reminded of something that they can see by themselves, right? Everybody owns a mirror. It's that some people walk around thinking like they that they can walk into somebody and say things about their appearance, like, everybody owns a mirror. Okay, a mirror is very easily accessible. So let me tell you exactly what the program is. Turkey has rolled out a new program nationwide to stop and weigh people in public, with inspectors telling them to slim down if they are found to be overweight. Health workers have been deployed across each of the country's 81 regions with weighing scale and tape measurements as they drive to assess 10 million people by July 10. This program just started. They need to finish by July 10. Passerbys are stopped by medical examiners for a spot body mass index. They're going to check your BMI while walking through Town Square, shopping centers, and parks, even as they prepare to board buses and head to football matches, according to reports. Speaking at a nursing conference last week, Turkey Prime Minister of Health, Kemal Mesimoglu, I do apologize if I mispronounced the last name, declared that 50% of our society is overweight. He pointed to the various health risks associated with being overweight, telling in the meeting, being overweight means being sick. It means we all get sick in the future. Our young children are overweight. Their body resistance is high, and that is why they don't get sick. But when they start getting older, that weight will turn into joint and heart disease. But the Prime Minister was not spared the scale in Ankara last week, and was told by health officials that he was among the large proportion of the population counted as above normal weight. So they're telling him basically, you're also overweight. Which dietitian should I go to? He reported. And he said afterwards, before adding in a follow-up post on Thursday, turns out I'm a little over. It is up to me, and I'll be walking every day. So there are photos of people right now coming out, being stabbed in Turkey and being weighed. Okay, so let me see here. Another person who was checked by the inspectors, psychiatrist and academic person, said, I got caught in a fact checkpoint. Luckily, they called me a little and let me go. They're calling it the fat checkpoint, guys. This is crazy. Let me tell you something before people start saying, because there are people who were gonna look at this and be like, yes, they need to do this in the US as soon as possible, because here's the thing, if it doesn't affect you, you have no problem with this, right? It's the same thing with student loans issues that are happening right now. And with the immigration, right? With the real ID, the immigration being stopping everybody. Even if it doesn't affect you, you as a human being, you still have compassion for people that have to go through the troubles, right? You need to understand, since the beginning of the year, we have a lot of things that are going against humans if you pay attention. And you need to remember that, like, this earth, like I said, this is about, Jesus created this for humans. And I don't understand people who are just against everything and making it kind of difficult for people to even hold a job. Like I said, using all this AI to replace so much, they forget one thing. Like, this is God's creation. And you're gonna answer to that. You think God is just gonna let you take over, basically? Right? So everything basically working against it. What I was saying about being overweight and obesity, like, I understand the health concerns. I understand that it's not good, but I also understand when people are adults, right? They have kind of like the authority to make decisions for themselves, right? It's like driving a car and owning a house and getting married and all of that stuff, right? This is a public shaming campaign that is being enforced in Turkey with the covering of health, right? Why don't they go and look at the bars and the people who leave bars being drunk and they get in their car and kill innocent people, right? Why there's not a campaign attacking people who use the drugs, that live on the street, that attack people going to work in the subway? And just because it happens in New York doesn't mean it doesn't happen in any other country. Why the people who are overweight? Because it's a public shaming thing. It goes back to society. People, like I said, people will hear something like this, right? And they'll be like, that is great that they're doing that. They should do it here, right? Because it doesn't affect them, right? Until they say, oh, now we're also going to public shame that people that own a lot of debt in their credit card. And we're going to we're gonna have debt collectors follow them everywhere they go. Then when something is affecting them, or so a close one in their family, then they'll be like, let's protest. This is unconstitutional. They say it's illegal to do that, but they're good by U.S. citizen being arrested by the immigration department, right? They're good by people who cannot afford to pay for groceries, get the food stamp being cut, right? They're all for it. Yeah, they should do that, right? They're all good for like robots replacing full completely companies, and people losing their jobs, not even able to afford for now the food stamp being even cut even more, right? And they're all for that until the issue becomes right in their face and it's something that affects them or their loved one, like I said, then there will be a cry out for this is unconstitutional, it's illegal, they shouldn't do that, right? This is the problem that all of this is creating. Like I said, maybe 5 of those problems that I mentioned there, it doesn't really affect me personally, but you cannot help it to feel like compassion for people. And not only that, but you need to understand this fat shaming thing is being rolled out in Turkey. And we know, like I said, in the US, there's a new health department director who has a lot of plans, especially when it comes to what causes obesity and things like this, which could be many things, right? Obesity is not linked to just one thing that you eat every day, right? They want to make it look like that, but it could be so many things. It could be even like a medication that you might take that makes you gain weight, it slows your metabolism, it makes you gain weight, but the doctor is telling you need it to treat this other issue that you're having, right? And that's the thing people don't understand. It can be caused by so many people who are who don't walk anymore. They might gain a lot of weight because they're not active, right? But then they'll look at them and be like, oh, they're just lazy, right? Because people only look for the outside. They missed it. They don't want to look at nothing else, right? So if they see how this works out in Turkey, and then you see another country picking on that, right? And they're like, let's do that here. And then it gets rolled out everywhere, right? This public shaming, here we are, we're back again, where this world is becoming like, the robots are taking over industries, and AI is just so much faster with AI. We don't need all this stuff here. Let's start laying people off. Oh, when people are saying on TikTok they're applying to 300 jobs, nobody can get a job, right? Obviously it's not every industry, we know this, but the majority of people are waiting 6 months to a year to even get a job, right? it's very difficult right now, the job market. And then you have, the budget cuts that are affecting so many people in the medical, in the food stamps, in so many things, right? All of this stuff, right? And then when you go outside, you're gonna be stabbed because they want to weigh you down. Like, is anybody thinking, wait a second, this can cause like the whole territory. It could be over there in Turkey, it could be here if they roll it out, whatever, right? They'll be like, people are getting, depressed. People don't want to go out anymore because they're being hunted down, right? And nobody's like thinking about that. Like I said, it can lead to this massive amount of people basically just taking matters into their own hands, if you guys know what I'm referring to. And this is bad, and I think it's a way of shaming people. And we know shaming fat people never helps anybody. Okay, if anything, it makes it worse, right? And you cannot remove the humanity from people who do that, and for people who are struggling with their weight when you want to do a fat shaming thing, right? Like I said, everybody owns a mirror. Everybody knows as an adult what they need to work on, right? And it's so crazy that they do this with the things that are visible. They don't do this with like I said, people who are just shopping every day, right? Let's just say they have a lot of debt, or people who are doing drugs, or people who are drinking and going and driving, and getting into a car and hitting innocent people, killing them to the point, right? And affecting their life permanently. Just innocent people, So things like this. This is not good, and it's just crazy. And like I said, it can definitely lead to a lot of depression and a lot of sadness and people not wanting to be going outside anymore. And let me just read to you guys. Even if they say we're only going to do this for like 3 months, it's just no need for that, right? I don't see the need for this. It should be a volunteering type of step. There's no like we should be stopping people as we see them walking by, right? So it says here that pictures, there's a lot of photos, of people just being weighed down. Because, it's so hard to buy a weight scale these days, right? It's not that you can just go to any store and get one. Pictures from around Turkey have shown people being guided onto weight scale and having their height measured before their weight is calculated. The anti-obesity campaign, which is described by officials as a national fight and is under the tagline "Know Your Weight, Live Healthy," began on May 10 and plans to survey one in 8 Turks. People with a BMI of over 25 are referred to the state-run Family Health Center and Life Center, where they can receive free nutritional counseling and follow-up service. I don't understand. Like I said, it should be a willing thing. Like if they want to pop up like outside of a very high traffic area and be like, we can give you nutrition information, like you can weigh yourself. And I have seen things like that being done at farmers market, something like that. But stopping people are in the metro, at the supermarket. This is crazy. I know also that every country does things differently because of culture, but I think it should be a volunteering thing. That's my concern. Meanwhile, an article in Turkish daily newspaper pointed out that the scheme was rolled out the same week that a new generation weight loss injection was launched in Turkey, something labeled a strange coincidence. So they're launching those injections that everybody's using now, that, in my opinion, they're so popular now. And they also have a lot of side effects, which is leading a lot of people to the hospital. So just because like I said, every medication is gonna do wonders to one person and not necessarily do the same to you. So, you have to proceed with caution, right? So let me just see here. I want to see what people are commenting about this. Like I said, it's only a problem for a lot of people. Things that are happening, all these changes here in the US, will only be a problem until it affects their household. Everything else, they're like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, And that is so sad because that's when you lose the compassion for other people, right? Somebody says, let me read to you. In principle, and if for the right reason and without correction, this will seem a sensible idea. But when we have governments ever really done anything for the people unless they can profit from it or gain from it, more power or control from it. So see, people are saying this is a great idea that should happen in the US also, of course. And then somebody said this should also happen in the UK. See, people are calling it. People are calling it, and this is gonna happen if that program is successful in Turkey. It's gonna be rolled out to other countries, right? And then it's gonna put, like I said, it's probably gonna lead a lot of people to, I'm thinking it's gonna get people like upset, right? And the fear of going out or like being stopped or being suggested to get weighed in and all of that. And then if they say, why don't we also look at people's credit score and their debt? And we need to, if we see them going to the store shopping and they want to make a purchase, we gotta tell them, well, you gotta pay this bill before you can do anything. And then people will be like, that's crazy that they don't even let me purchase anything. This is harassment. It's unconstitutional. It should be illegal. It's a shameful thing. It only makes sense sometimes, like I said, until it happens to you. And somebody said, what a dreadful thing to do. How dare one person, regardless of how they are decree how you should live. It's your life. If you're okay with how you are, no one has the right to challenge you. And what about those who are underweight? Exactly, right? All this effort, like I said, I'm all for, living healthy and eating healthy. I understand the whole point of, we want people to live healthy. But like I said, you're talking about adults that make responsible decisions for their own self, especially for their own body. That's their decision, right? So why this is more like a harassment thing. Like I said, if they want to set up a table outside of a supermarket, a farmer's market, and have that option for people, you want to check your BMI, we can tell you, we can give you nutrition advice. That's a complete different thing. But following people like this and stopping them and all of that, that's crazy. And I just have the feeling that this is definitely going to be rolled out. And it begins with one thing, right? It begins with one thing. And then they'll think of other stuff. You know what will be good too if we do this, right? Somebody said, where is the world heading to? That's my whole point. This is why I wanted to make this video. I feel like people are not paying attention. We're not paying enough attention to see, are we, is this really gonna happen now? Do you know that this can lead people to deep depression? Like, are we okay? Guys, if you're listening to me, you've been listening to me for a while now in this channel, get right with the Lord, start a relationship with Jesus Christ, because this is just the beginning of how bad everything's gonna get. If you need prayer, you can always reach out to me, Julissadesigns.com, right? Somebody says, people are saying on the chat, say, oh, bring it to Australia too. Oh yeah, everybody wants it, right? And then, everybody wants it until it affects them. If somebody says, the doctor says, oh, you gotta take this medication to cure that other thing, And then they notice, wait, that medication is making me gain weight. And now they're being stopped everywhere they go by the weight police, right? The fat police. And then they'll be like, I don't want to go anymore. This is affecting my mental health. Oh, now it makes sense to you. Look at that. Isn't that something, right? Let me see. So then people get nasty in the comments, of course, because it's so easy to judge something that is visible, right? It's the easiest thing to judge something that is visible. Somebody said, not a chance they'll get me to go along with this. Why are people agreeing? Even when I was skinny, I was private about my weight, and I would not allow this, right? I think that we do have a lot of organizations, you know, in the US, I'm sure in Turkey too, about body shaming and all of that stuff. I'm surprised that they let this roll out, right? You know, they say if your BMI is over a certain thing, you're going to be registered. They're going to make this fat people registry that is going to track your progress, I guess, right? So it's just interesting. Interesting and kind of like, there's something coming, definitely. There's something coming. I remember 4 years ago, I was coming here telling you about this registry that they were building if you got your 1, 2, or the booster, or you guys know what I'm referring to. And people were so willing to do that. Nobody, like, obviously, some people have concerns, but people were like, yeah, you know, I have my card. I'm good to go. They were so proud of it. And that's how they test it out. They see how people receive it. And then like, oh, everybody was so welcome to do that. Why don't we roll this out now, right? It's been 4 years already. Well, 5 years, excuse me. So we'll see, right? Let me know, guys, what you think about this. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the podcast. Have a good day, everybody. God bless. This is Julissa. Thank you so much for coming to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day, everybody. God bless.